Okay, good morning everyone. So in this session, we try to cover all the OOPS keyword used during all interviews. So the first and basic question is that what is class? Okay, so actually we have to answer that a class is C++ blueprint and a class in a C++ actually a blueprint or the template that define the data member and the function that we call methods. Okay, and the object are created using the class. Okay, the class is actually the blueprint or template which consists of the data members and the methods. Okay, and okay, and the class group the data and function together as a fundamental of the OOPS. So when we have to write the class code, simply when we write a class car in which a curly braces, when we have to define the access specifier and string of color, integer of speed, this is a data member, and after that we have to write the method. So void no return type, and drive is a function name function curly in which we have to return anything we want. Okay, and we have to it. Okay, this is a class. So a class, a user defined data type. Okay, an object is the instance of the class. The memory is allocated only when the object is created. Okay, it support abstraction plus encapsulation. Object is a real world entity created from the class. It is a real world entity and it is created from the class. So how we write how we write the code for the class and search for the color one. Okay, so we set the color as the red and the speed as set to 1. Whenever we write this one c1 dot drive, this value returns to our in our terminal. Okay, so object is the actual entity create. Next question is what? And next question is what define abstraction. So abstraction in C++. So abstraction in C++ mean that only showing the essential detail and hiding the unnecessary complexity and internal detail from the user. Okay, hiding the unnecessary complexity. Okay. So abstraction in C++ means showing only essential details and hiding the unnecessary internal complexity from the user. So so what is important to hide and how it's work. So when we create a class, so class car in which we pass the method. So void start engine means say out user only know this function start the engine. Next question, what is encapsulation? So encapsulation means binding the data or variable and function into a single unit or class and protecting the data using access modifier. Okay, like wrapping the data and method together and restricting the direct access of the data. So how it's look like balance bank account. So in which the hidden data is what is balance. Okay, and the method void deposit in which we pass the amount and add the balance with the amount. Okay, whenever we want and the control access is that when we have to access the balance get balance through which we see how much balance we have. So have so the hidden data is here balance. Okay, balance cannot be accessed directly but can access through the public. You can access through the public method for the data protection. You can access through the public method for the data protection. So encapsulation in binding into a single unit and protecting the data from protecting the data and using the access modifier. This can be achieved and this can be achieved by protected and the public member. Prevent the direct modification of data and ensure the control access to the data and improve the security and maintainability. So what is inheritance? So inheritance in C++ allow one class or child to acquire the properties and behavior of the another class, parent class, simply reusing the feature of one class to the another class. So how we write the code? Actually, the class vehicle, for example, a class vehicle in which public method is what start in which you start. So when we from the start we know how to start a vehicle. So to acquiring the properties of that things we inherit into in my vehicle. So class car inheriting public property of it is this one public vehicle, not car inherited, and drive void drive. So in this class there is already present the start feature. Okay, so when we create the object car c increment car c dot start the value print. Okay, the vehicle dot start print. Okay, and when we write c dot drive, so automatically it show the car is driving. So it helps to code reusability and car inherit the vehicle property and car get all the public and protected member. Okay, types of inheritance, there's different types, single, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical, and hybrid. So using this column we can inherit this one. So the next question is that what is polymorphism. So polymorphism means one name multiple form. Polymorphism means one name multiple form, the ability of a function or object to behave differently based on the context. So polymorphism mean one name multiple form, the ability of function or ability of function or object to behave differently based on the context. So same function name but different behavior. So there is two type of polymorphism is compile time, okay, and runtime. So compile time achieving the functional overloading and operator overloading, and the achieve using function overriding and virtual function, and using virtual function. Whenever we have to write the whenever we write the code of for the runtime polymorphism method overriding features. So overriding feature mean that if a animal have the property void virtual, we have to use the virtual keyword before using the overriding things. Okay, void sound. So animal make a sound. Okay, this is the class, and a class dog inherit the property of animal, in which we override the function. So what we are write void sound overriding the function, and we change like a dog bark, same name as the parent method, but a different functionality. So this one is a runtime polymorphism. So when we create an object, animal animal a is equal to new dog, animal a is equal to new dog, and a dot sound dog bark is a polymorphism. Allow of flexibility and dynamic behavior. Virtual function enable the runtime polymorphism. So actually it enable the runtime polymorphism. Overloading is a compile time and overriding is a runtime. Okay. A second one is what is method overloading. So method overloading is a type of compiled and polymorphism where multiple functions having the same name but same the class is same but have same name but different parameter number of types. So same name but different parameter list. Okay. For example, class calculator public int add int a int b, this one, and double add double a double b. So in which we see that the method having same name but different parameter. So this means that it is a method overloading. So this one is a method overloading. So create creating an object. Okay, we see calculate dot add return everything. So it happen in a compile time. Compile decide which functions to call. Okay, and function must differ in a name or parameter. Okay, and in what is method overriding? So overriding is a type of runtime polymorphism where the drive class when a drive class provide its own implementation of the base class virtual function. So method overriding means that and when a drive class provide their own implementation of the base class virtual function. Okay, so how we write example for this code is like class class animal, in which virtual void sound. Okay, uh, class dog inherit the property of animal, in which void So virtual function, we have to use virtual function, and the sound is override. So void sound overrided the base class methods, and return this one. So create an object. So is equal to new animal A is equal to new dog, and a dot sound. This will be park. And next question, what is constructor? Actually, the constructor is a special member function of the class that automatically call when an object is created. Okay, a constructor is a special member function of the class that is automatically called when an object is created. Okay, it is used to initialize the object. So constructor is a special member of the class that is automatically called when an object is created. A simple definition, a function which with the same name as a class but no return type initialize the object. So for example, that when we write the class car, public string car, and the car, this one is car. So specifying the things, string C and string S, and assigning color to C and S. So this is constructor. This is automatically called. When we write word display, this one it display the color and the car. So here a class C1, car C1, which we pass a red and 120 constructor called, and in display we show everything. Okay. So same name must match with the class name and no return type, and not even the void, not even the void. We don't write in void car something like simply can be default parameters and copy constructor. Destructor is a special function of the class that automatically call when we destroy the class. So it is used to clean up the resources like memory or the file handles. So whenever we wants to clean up the resources and the memory, so we use destructor, a function with same name as the class but the prefix with the this uh, curly symbol automatically call when it go out of scope. So we create a class with the constructor is called. Okay, and when we use this prefix, then the class, and then it free up the spaces when we have to destroy the object. Constructor con destruct automatic and the scope. Okay, a copy constructor is a special type of constructor that create a new object as a copy of the existing object. Okay, used to initialize an object using another object of same class. So class in which all things pass है, the parameterized constructor in which we pass the values in, and copy constructor is that cars in which we copy the all functionality of C. Okay, okay. C1 is equal to copy constructor, C1 is equal to red and red. Car C2 is equal to C1. So this is copy constructor. Take a reference of the object of the same class. Default this one. So what is the this pointer in a C++? The this pointer is an implicit pointer available inside a non-static member function. So it point the object that invoke the. So actually this keyword is used inside a C. Oops. it invoke the member function inside. So in simple definition, if we want to explain, so this points the current object. So this at this point the current object. So when we write create a class public string color, so void is equal to set color, void is equal to set color, string string color. So this color is equal to differentiate between parameterized and the member. They differentiate the parameterized and the member. Okay, this invoke point to the current object. Okay, so this point to the object that invoke the member function. So this pointer is implicit pointer available inside all non-static member function of the class. Point to the object that invoke the member function. So this points to the member of the object. Okay, string color, set color. Okay, and this is called differentiate between the parameters and parameter and the members. Parameter and the members. Color is equal to this color. Set red, so it will show. Mm. So what is super keyword? So super keyword does not exist in does not exist in Java, but you exist in C++. Instead, you can use base class name to access the base class constructor. Okay, so it user to the super keyword it is used to refer the class name member from the drive. So the class vehicle public start all these things, and when a car inherit the property of the vehicle, so void start calling the this function vehicle inheriting all the property vehicle starts and car starts. Okay, static binding is also an early binding. So static binding occur when call a function call is resolved at a compile time. Static binding in C++ is also known as early binding. So occur when a function call is resolved at the compile time. So it usually happen with the non-virtual function. So it actually with the non-virtual function, the function call is linked with the function call is to the function code at compile time. Okay, so when we write a base function this, so it derived from this, so base b drive b, so base point to this one. So when compiler work with the non-virtual function. Okay, uh, so what is dynamic binding? Dynamic is a late binding occur when a function is resolved at the runtime. So it achieve using virtual function. The function call is linked to the function code at runtime. So virtual this one drive. So virtual function, this is dynamic binding, and it is called static binding. The non-virtual function, right? This one. It's work on it resolved at the runtime on virtual function. So this one drive and the void source override this one base pr is equal to this one. Happen under runtime virtual function base enable the runtime polymorphism. So what is static methods? So static method belongs to a class, not the static method. A static member function belongs to the class, not to any particular object. It can be called without creating an object of the class. Okay. Simple definition: class level functions shared by all objects. So the static method belongs to a class, okay, not to any object, and it can be called without creating an object of the class. Okay, so this is a class math static method. So when we use static keyword, so it belongs to class, not any particular object. It belongs to a class. Try this one. When when we write call without an object, so math, I'm getting the always function of this. So this method is called without any object. So static keyword is a static member function, belongs to a class and not to any particular object. It can be called without any creating an object. Okay, so declare using, and we have to declare using static keyword. And after that, static. What is instant method? Instant method is a non-static member function of the class that require an object to be called. It can be accessed. Static method is a static member function, belongs to the class, not any particular object is created, not any particular object, and it can be called object. Okay. An instance method is a non-static member function of a class that require object. A non-static function of the class that require an object to be called, and it can be accessed both non-static and static member. Okay. uh, Set color is equal to C. What is interface? So interface usually implement only pure virtual function. The interface is usually implement using the class that contain only virtual function. So it define the contract that drive the class must implement. So class with the only abstract method of the class within having with the abstract method have pure virtual function and no data. For example, if we create an I save all this thing. Pure virtual function, we define virtual void solve function is equal to 0. Okay. The class which contain a pure virtual function, then we use the interface and I define the contract with the drive class must be implemented. The class only with the only abstract method, pure virtual function and no data. An abstract class is a class that cannot be instantiated. Abstract class is a class that cannot be instantiated and usually contain. Abstract class is a class that cannot be instantiated and usually contain at least one pure virtual function. Okay, and it is used to provide a common interface for the drive class. Okay, simple definition, you can say that class with at least one virtual function mean to be inherited. For example, class safe virtual draw is equal to pure virtual function and that can be iterated. So it is called an abstract function. Interface usually implement using the class that only contains. The abstract class is a class that cannot contain and cannot be instantiated and usually cannot be instantiated and usually contain at least one virtual function. is a feature in C++ in which a drive class inherits from the more than one base classes. A drive class inherit more than one more than from the more than one base classes. For example, vehicle, the property of start, for engine, a fuel. The car inherit property from the vehicle, comma, public class or public engine. So a drive class can inherit the property base classes. Okay. Multi-level inheritance in which a class is derived from the another derived class. Okay, so A is a parent and B inherit the property of A, and then after C inherit the property of B. So it is multi-level inheritance. For example, a vehicle in which the method has a void start, car car actually car and drive the property of the vehicle drive, and sports grab the turbo. So a sports car is a inherit property from the car, so it is multi-level inheritance. So create object sport car sc, when we write s dot start, the vehicle star as well as from the cars and from the start this one hierarchical hierarchical things in which a base class in which a drive class can inherit from the type of subclasses. So one base class but many one base class many child classes. So vehicle and the car and bike. Okay, so in which a vehicle in this one, so one base class and many child classes, so it is hierarchical, the things happen hybrid. Hybrid mean it is combination of two. Hybrid inheritance is a combination of two or more type of inheritance, single or multiple. Is something a vehicle to car, okay, car to engine, and this one and this engine, okay. After what is composition? Composition. So composition is a design principle where class contain. It is a design principle where class contain object of another class. Okay, and it has a relationship. Okay, the composition engine is has a relationship engine. So publicly void start car through this engine dot start. Okay, car start. The composition is design person which contain the object of another class. So it is an object and of the another classes. Okay. So what is composition? Composition is a design principle. It is used in the OOPS and this means an object or an object of another. It can contain the object of another class. Okay. And aggregation is also a design principle where the class contain object of another class, but the part can exist independently of the whole, and it also represented by the has a relation but weaker than composition. Okay, class in a word is in star, so aggregation. Class in a word is in star, so aggregation. Okay, car engine is equal to e dot, so start. So it is a also design principle, but the part can exist independently whole. Okay, the part can also independently exist. Okay, we also create car in which we pass the engine e and engine is equal to e. What car engine dot start. Okay, this one. So it can independently can exist. So what how we write like car is equal engine is car c is equal to e start car. It also e start car. It also has a relationship. Association. Association is a relationship when a two class are drivers D and drivers D in which a driver D associated with this one user relationship. Coupling coupling refer to how dependent one class coupling refer to how dependent one class or module is with another class. Okay, degree of independence. Data hiding. Data hiding is an OOPS principle where internal object detail are hidden from the outside access using access specifier. Okay, bank private. Okay, achieve using private and protected number or data abstraction. Data abstraction means hiding the implementation detail and showing only necessary things. Focus on the object. What does? How? Internal focus on how does. So foil car fuel injection is a hidden things, but how the car start? This is visible. So what is the use of virtual function? So virtual function is a member function in a base class that can be overridden into drive class. So it enables the runtime polymorphism. Actually, it enables the runtime polymorphism. So the base class function that can be defined into the drive class called class and called via the base pointer. Okay. So class base public virtual void so out is equal to base class drive. It inherits the property of the base class and it the void so in overrides its one. Okay. Base star ptr is equal to new drive. Okay, ptr dot so pure virtual function. In pure virtual function there is no data members. Okay, the pure virtual function with the no implementation in the base class, but it must be overridden in a drive class, and the class containing virtual function become an abstract. Okay, the function value is equal to 0. No implementation of things. So class virtual void class is equal to this one is a pure virtual function. Okay, and this can be also overridden. RRTT. I don't know what is RRTT. Runtime type information operator overloading. Same name but overloading. Operator overloading. The operator overloading allowed to define the behavior. It allowed to define the behavior of different operator to make an operator work with object of the class. Object of the class. Operator overload of the custom behavior with the objected. Okay. Function overriding rule stat. What is the function overriding rule? Occur when a drive class redefine the base class and redefine the base class function. Okay, same name type, return type, parameter, but use of the virtual keyword. Okay, so what is the use of virtual? So virtual is a member function in use in a base class that can be overridden. It enables the runtime polymorphism. Okay, this pointer. So virtual destructor, we don't need that much of things. Virtual destructor, and ensure the deleting the base pointer. Diamond problem. It's diamond problem arise during the into the inheritance things. Diamond problem is what occur in multiple inheritance when a two base class inherit from the same grandparent. Two base class inherit the property from same grandparent and drive the inheritance both and ambiguity as when the class inherit the same base class through the multiple path. What is the function? One member function that can be accessed private and protected member. So it declare using friend keyword. So friend function is a non-member function that can access the private and protected function. So how we access the private and protected function? So through the friend keyword. Okay, the function outside the class can access the private in this one. So private width box of width is equal to so box b friend void print this one. can access the private and protected function. Friend class. The friend class can access the private and protected member of the class, and all the member of the friend class have one class can access the private and protected member of another class. The static data member belongs to classes but do not have a particular object. So the static member belongs to a class itself but do not have any particular object. It is shared among all the objects of the class. So class level variable shared by all object. So when we create a static, so we do not need to define as an object. Okay, no need to, no need of any particular object. Okay, this part cannot be defined the static member outside the class. Okay, all the object, all the objected